Almost 2 weeks ago, my wife Clara and I bought a house. We had been looking for a while but could never afford anything we liked. Then, we found the house. When it came time to sign the papers, it was just me and the realtor. Before signing, he told me the house was supposedly haunted. I joked, as long as they help with chores, we'll be fine, and signed the papers. He seemed almost relieved to sell it. We moved in on a Monday. Everything was fine until Friday. The first incident was small. A vase fell and smashed. I told Clara the cat did it, and she believed me. I knew it wasn't the cat since it was outside, and I saw the vase do a little jump off the shelf. On Saturday, it was open cupboards in the kitchen. I told Clara we must be forgetting to close them, but every morning since then I've woken up before her to close all the cupboards that mysteriously open every night. All of them. It's driving me nuts. Sunday, things escalated. When Clara was showering, I decided to join her. But as I entered the bathroom, I noticed the foggy mirror had text written on it. I quickly wiped it away before joining her. Every time she showers, I sneak in and wipe the fog off the mirror. Monday night, we heard our first voice. We were talking in the living room when we heard a clear child's voice say hi from the other end of the room. I pretended not to hear it, but Clara went pale. She heard it clearly. It took some convincing, but I managed to get her to believe it was just a kid outside. Tuesday, things got worse. I woke up frozen with a child and an older woman standing over me, both whispering. I fell asleep again almost immediately. At breakfast, Clara mentioned having a nightmare about a kid and an older woman standing over me, whispering about how I looked like him. It gave me chills, but I didn't want Clara to know the house was supposedly haunted. She would want to move immediately, but I wasn't leaving my dream house. Wednesday, Clara left to visit a friend, and I stayed home to work. While I was working, the cat walked into my office and started staring at a spot on the floor. She'd never entered my office before. She started scratching aggressively at the floor and hissing. Curious, I checked it out and noticed some wooden planks that were different from the rest. Previous owners must have made changes, and the cat noticed the different smell. After work, I played some games in the game room with my headphones on and forgot about the floor. When Clara got home, she kissed me hello and left the room. 5 seconds later, I heard her scream. I ran to her and found her in my office, staring at the spot where the cat had been scratching. The planks were pulled up, revealing a hole with a crudely drawn pentagram and a picture of us from our wedding in the middle. I gaslighted her hard, claiming it was a prank gone wrong. I said I planned to text her a joke about destiny, but she believed me. In truth, I didn't tear up the floor, draw the pentagram, or put our photo there. I was terrified but determined not to move. This was my house. Thursday, I saw the child again while I was in the bathroom. Yes, I poop with the door open when no guests or over. Cat owners know why. The child leaned in the doorway, watching me. Later, Clara saw the old woman in the garden, but it was a blink and she's gone kind of thing. Convincing her it was a trick of the mind was easy. Then came today, Friday. Clara woke up screaming in the middle of the night. The woman and child were standing over her, whispering about something happening soon. Unlike me, Clara wasn't frozen. When she screamed, they disappeared, and she started bawling. It took hours to convince her it was just a nightmare. She was still shaking, so we ended up cuddling on the sofa until she fell asleep in my arms. Luckily, she was asleep when the whispering started. It wasn't just the child and woman this time. There were at least 2 men and someone who sounded like a heavy smoker. I am terrified, but I am not moving. Now I'm feeling guilty about lying to Clara and watching her be so scared. Should I tell her the truth and hope she's willing to fight for our house? Or should I continue to gaslight her to keep our dream home? We can't afford to move at this moment, but I can't shake the feeling that something terrible is about to happen. Saturday morning dawns with a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. Clara hasn't mentioned last night's incident again, but I can tell she's still on edge. I make us coffee and breakfast, trying to act normal. Just as we sit down to eat, the doorbell rings. Clara jumps, spilling her coffee. "I'll get it," I say, giving her a reassuring smile. At the door stands our neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, a sprightly woman in her late 60s. Beside her is her grandson, Timmy, a curious-looking boy of about 10. Mrs. Thompson has been very welcoming since we moved in, often bringing over baked goods and sharing stories about the neighborhood. "Good morning, Mrs. Thompson," I greet her warmly. "Come in." "Good morning, dear," she replies, stepping inside with Timmy. "I hope we're not intruding." "Not at all," I assure her, leading them to the living room. Clara joins us, her face brightening at the sight of familiar faces. "We thought we'd stop by and see how you're settling in, Mrs. Thompson says, handing Clara a basket of muffins. "Thank you so much," Clara responds, her voice slightly shaky. "We're doing well, just a bit tired from all the unpacking." Timmy wanders around the room, his eyes wide with curiosity. "This house is so cool," he exclaims. "It's like one of those old haunted mansions in the movies." I force a laugh. "Yeah, it's got a lot of character." "Mrs. Thompson gives me a knowing look. "You know, there are a lot of stories about this place," she says, lowering her voice. "People say it's haunted." Clara stiffens, and I quickly change the subject. "Would you like some coffee, Mrs. Thompson? Timmy, would you like a muffin?" Timmy nods eagerly. As we settle into a casual conversation, I can see Clara relaxing a bit. The normalcy of having guests helps, even if Mrs. Thompson's stories make me uneasy. After they leave, Clara and I decide to take a walk in the garden. The sun is shining, and the fresh air feels good. As we wander among the flowers, I try to keep the conversation light. "What do you think about planting some more flowers here?" I ask, pointing to a bare spot near the fence. Clara smiles weakly. "That sounds nice. Maybe some roses." We're interrupted by the sound of children's laughter. Turning, we see Timmy and a couple of his friends standing at the garden gate. "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Andrews," Timmy calls out. "Can we explore your garden?" I glance at Clara, who shrugs. "Sure, just be careful," I reply. The kids rush in, their excitement contagious. They start playing a game of tag, running and laughing. Clara and I sit on a bench, watching them. For a moment, it feels like everything is normal. Then I hear it, a faint whisper, almost too soft to catch. I look around, but no one else seems to notice. The kids continue playing, oblivious to the eerie sound. "Did you hear that?" Clara asks suddenly, her eyes wide. "Hear what?" I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. Whispering, she says, looking around nervously. "It's probably just the wind," I say, though I know better. That evening, Clara decides to call her friend Jessica to come over for dinner. Jessica is a lively, no-nonsense woman who always knows how to lighten the mood. I'm hoping her presence will distract Clara from her worries. When Jessica arrives, she brings her boyfriend Mark, a burly firefighter with a booming laugh. The house feels warmer with them there, their laughter and chatter filling the rooms. We sit down to a meal of lasagna and wine, and for the first time in days, I see Clara genuinely smiling. "This house is amazing," Jessica says, looking around. "I'm so jealous." "Yeah, it's got a lot of potential," I say, trying to sound enthusiastic. "Any ghost stories yet?" Mark jokes, winking at Clara. Clara laughs nervously. "Just a few creaks and groans. Nothing too spooky." As the night progresses, we move to the living room for more wine and conversation. Jessica tells us about her latest work drama, while Mark regales us with tales from the firehouse. The atmosphere is light and fun, and I almost forget about the haunting until the lights flicker. "Must be the wiring," I say quickly, trying to mask my fear. "Old house and all." Mark nods. "Yeah, probably. These old places can be a pain with electrical stuff." Suddenly, there's a loud bang from upstairs. Everyone freezes. "What was that?" Jessica asks, her eyes wide. "Probably just the house settling," I say, standing up. "I'll go check it out." "I'll come with you," Mark offers, and we head up the stairs together. The hallway is dark, and I can feel my heart pounding in my chest. We reach the top, and I see that the door to the guest room is ajar. I push it open slowly, half expecting to see something terrifying. But the room is empty. "See? Nothing to worry about," I say, though my voice sounds hollow. Mark nods. "Guess so. Let's head back down." We return to the living room, where Clara and Jessica are huddled together on the couch. I can see the fear in Clara's eyes, and I know she's barely holding it together. "Everything's fine," I say, trying to sound convincing. "Just the house settling." Jessica and Mark leave soon after, promising to come back and visit again. Once they're gone, Clara turns to me, her face pale. "I don't think I can stay here," she says, her voice trembling. "Something's not right." "We can't afford to move," I remind her gently. "Let's just give it some time, okay?" She nods reluctantly, but I can see the doubt in her eyes. As we get ready for bed, I can't shake the feeling that we're not alone in this house. That night I dream of the child and the woman, standing at the foot of our bed, whispering. "You can't stay here," they say. "It's going to happen soon." I wake up in a cold sweat, the whispering still echoing in my ears. Clara is asleep beside me, her face peaceful. I lie there staring at the ceiling, wondering what I've gotten us into. The next morning, we decide to invite more people over, hoping their presence will drive away the feeling of dread. Clara calls her brother Eric and his wife Susan to come for a weekend visit. They arrive with their 2 kids, Amy and Ben, and the house is soon filled with laughter and the sound of children playing. Eric and I sit on the porch, drinking beer and watching the kids play in the garden. "This place is great," Eric says, taking a sip of his beer. "You guys really lucked out." "Yeah, it's been a dream come true," I reply, though my smile feels forced. As the day turns to evening, we gather around the fire pit in the garden. The kids roast marshmallows while Susan tells ghost stories. The atmosphere is cozy and warm, but I can't shake the feeling of being watched. Later, as we sit around the fire, Amy suddenly screams. We all turn to see her pointing at the house. "There's someone in the window," she cries. We all look, but the window is empty. "Probably just a trick of the light," Eric says, trying to calm her down. But I know what she saw. The whispering starts again, faint but unmistakable. Clara grips my hand, her eyes wide with fear. "We can't stay here," she whispers. "We have to leave." I squeeze her hand, trying to reassure her. "We'll figure it out, I promise. Just a little more time." But as I look back at the house, I can't help but feel a sense of impending doom. Something is coming, and I don't know if we can stop it. Sunday morning starts with a heavy sense of dread. Clara and I are barely speaking, the tension between us palpable. Last night's events have left us both shaken, and the idea of inviting more people over seems futile. Clara's brother and his family are still asleep, and the house is eerily quiet. I decide to take a walk around the neighborhood, hoping to clear my head. As I stroll down the street, I run into Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Thompson's husband. He's trimming his hedges and looks up as I approach. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," I greet him. "Morning, young man," he replies, wiping sweat from his brow. "How are you and your wife settling in?" I hesitate before answering. "It's been ... interesting. I heard from your wife that there are stories about our house." Mr. Thompson nods, a serious look crossing his face. "Oh, there are plenty of stories. That house has a history, you know. Some say it's cursed." "Cursed," I echo, feeling a chill run down my spine. He looks around, as if making sure no one is listening. Back in the 1920s, a family lived there. The father went mad and killed his wife and children before hanging himself in the basement. Since then, no one has stayed in that house for long. People say they see the family's ghosts, hear their whispers. I swallow hard. Why didn't anyone tell us before we bought it? Mr. Thompson shrugs. Most people around here don't like to talk about it. They think it's bad luck. I thank him for the information and head back to the house, my mind racing. When I arrive, Clara is in the kitchen, making breakfast with Eric and Susan. I just had the most interesting conversation with Mr. Thompson, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. Clara looks up, concern etched on her face. What did he say? I take a deep breath and relay the story. Eric and Susan exchange uneasy glances, while Clara's face goes pale. So it's true, she whispers. This house is haunted. I don't know what to believe, I admit. But we can't ignore what's been happening. Eric stands up, his expression determined. We need to get to the bottom of this. There has to be a logical explanation. Like what Clara asks, her voice trembling. We've seen ghosts, Eric, heard their whispers. Maybe there's something in the house that's causing these hallucinations, he suggests. Mold or carbon monoxide poisoning. We need to check it out. Susan nods. He's right. We can't just assume it's ghosts without investigating. We spend the next few hours inspecting the house from top to bottom. Eric checks the basement for mold while Susan examines the ventilation system for any signs of carbon monoxide leaks. Clara and I go through the attic, looking for anything unusual. As we sift through old boxes and dusty furniture, Clara finds a journal hidden in a chest. It's old, the leather cover worn and brittle. She opens it carefully, and we start reading the entries. The journal belonged to Sarah Miller, the mother who lived here in the 1920s. Her entries start off normal, detailing their family life and the joy of moving into a new home. But as we read further, the entries grow darker. April 3rd, 1925. John has been acting strangely. He says he hears voices at night, whispering to him. I haven't heard anything, but it's starting to worry me. April 17th, 1925. The voices are getting worse. John says they're telling him to do terrible things. I'm scared for our children. May 1st, 1925. John is no longer the man I married. He's become violent, accusing me of conspiring against him. I don't know what to do. The final entry sends a chill down my spine. May 15th, 1925. John has locked us in the basement. He says the voices won't stop until he does what they want. I fear for our lives. We stare at the journal in silence, the gravity of what happened here sinking in. Clara looks up at me, tears in her eyes. We have to leave, she says, her voice barely a whisper. We can't stay here. I know, I say, pulling her into a hug. We'll find a way to leave. Just then, we hear a loud crash from downstairs. Eric and Susan come running up to the attic, their faces pale. What was that? Susan asks, her voice shaking. I don't know, I say, heading towards the stairs. But we need to find out. We cautiously make our way downstairs, the house eerily silent. When we reach the living room, we see the source of the noise. The large mirror above the fireplace has shattered, pieces of glass scattered across the floor. Did anyone touch this? Eric asks, looking around. We all shake our heads. Suddenly the temperature drops, and we can see our breath in the air. The whispers start again, louder this time, echoing through the house. Get out, they say. You don't belong here. Clara grabs my hand, her grip tight. We have to leave, now. We rush to gather our things, the whispers growing more insistent. As we're about to leave, the front door slams shut on its own. We're trapped. Try the back door, I say, my voice trembling. Eric and I head to the kitchen, but the back door won't budge either. It's as if the house itself is keeping us in. Panic sets in, and we all start searching for another way out. Check the windows, Susan shouts, heading to the living room. Clara and I run to the windows, but they're all stuck. The whispers grow louder, almost deafening. I can feel a presence behind me, but I'm too scared to turn around. We're not leaving, the voices hiss. This is our house. Just then, there's a loud bang, and the front door flies open. We don't hesitate. We grab Clara's hand and run outside, not stopping until we're at the end of the driveway. We turn to see the house standing ominously, the whispers fading into the distance. "What the hell just happened?" Eric asks, his voice shaky. "I don't know," I say, trying to catch my breath. "But we're not going back in there." Clara looks at me, tears streaming down her face. "What are we going to do?" "We'll figure it out, I promise. But for now, we're staying away from that house." We gather what little we manage to grab and head to Eric and Susan's place. The drive is silent, each of us lost in our thoughts. I can't shake the feeling that this isn't over, that whatever is in that house isn't going to let us go so easily. As we pull into Eric's driveway, I make a silent vow. I'm going to find out what's haunting our house, and I'm going to put an end to it. For Clara, for us. We deserve to live in peace. But deep down, I know it's not going to be easy. The house has a grip on us, and I fear it's only a matter of time before it pulls us back in. We spend the next few days at Eric and Susan's place, trying to piece together what happened. Clara is on edge, jumping at every little sound. I'm determined to find answers, and it leads me back to the journal we found in the attic. There has to be more to this story. I make a decision: we need to go back to the house. Eric and Susan are reluctant, but they agree to come with us for support. Clara is terrified but resolute. We need closure. We have to understand what we're dealing with, I tell Clara as we pack a few essentials. Otherwise, it will haunt us forever. As we approach the house, it stands ominous and silent. The air feels heavier, colder. We enter cautiously, every creak of the floorboards sending chills down our spines. The house seems almost alive, watching us. We need to go to the basement, I say, recalling the last entry in Sarah's journal. That's where it all happened. We make our way down the narrow stairs, the air growing colder with each step. The basement is dark and damp, the walls lined with old tools and boxes. In the center of the room is a heavy wooden door, slightly ajar. "This must be it," Eric says, pushing the door open. Inside, we find a small, windowless room. On the floor, a faint outline of a pentagram is visible, drawn in what looks like dried blood. The room feels thick with malevolence. "What is this place?" Clara whispers, clinging to my arm. "It's where he did it," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. "Where John killed his family." As we stand there, the whispers return, louder than ever. The room grows colder, and we can see our breath in the air. The presence we felt before is stronger now, almost tangible. "Why are you here?" a voice hisses from the shadows. It's a woman's voice, filled with pain and anger. "We want to understand what happened," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "We want to help." "You cannot help," the voice replies. "You must leave." "We can't leave," Clara says, stepping forward. "This is our home now. We need to know the truth." The air around us shifts, and a figure emerges from the shadows. It's a woman, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes filled with sorrow. She's dressed in old-fashioned clothes, and I recognize her from the photos in the journal. "Sarah?" I ask, my voice trembling. She nods. "He killed us. He heard the whispers, and they drove him mad. Now we are trapped here." "We don't want to hurt you," Clara says, tears streaming down her face. "We just want to live in peace." Sarah's expression softens, but the whispers grow louder, more insistent. "The house won't let you go. It's hungry. It needs souls." "What do you mean?" Eric asks, stepping forward. "The house feeds on fear, on pain," Sarah explains. "It won't stop until it consumes you." "We need to break the cycle," I say, a sense of determination filling me. "We need to find a way to release you." Sarah shakes her head. "You can't. The house won't allow it. There has to be a way, Clara insists. Tell us how to free you. Sarah hesitates, then looks at us with pleading eyes. There is a ritual. It's dangerous, but it might work. You need to confront the darkness within the house and destroy it. We'll do it, I say without hesitation. Tell us what we need to do. Sarah explains the ritual, a complex series of steps involving symbols, incantations, and sacrifices. We gather the materials needed from around the house, our fear giving way to determination. As we prepare, the house seems to sense what we're doing. The whispers grow louder, more frantic. Objects move on their own, and the temperature drops further. But we press on, knowing this is our only chance. We gather in the living room, the center of the house's power. Sarah stands with us, guiding us through the steps. We draw the symbols on the floor, light the candles, and begin the incantations. The air crackles with energy, and the house seems to come alive. Suddenly, a force slams into us, knocking us off our feet. The candles flicker and die, and the whispers turn into screams. The room is plunged into darkness, and I feel a cold hand grasp my arm. Keep going, Sarah shouts, her voice barely audible over the cacophony. Don't stop. We struggle to our feet, relighting the candles and continuing the ritual. The force pushing against us is immense, but we press on, shouting the incantations with all our strength. The darkness around us swirls and shifts, taking on a tangible form. Out of the shadows, a figure emerges, a man, his face twisted with rage and madness. It's John, the spirit of the man who killed his family. His eyes burn with a malevolent fire as he advances on us. You will not take my home, he snarls, his voice a guttural growl. We're not here to take it, I shout back. We're here to end this. With a final shout, we complete the incantation. The symbols on the floor glow with a bright light, and the force pushing against us dissipates. John screams, his form disintegrating into nothingness. The house shakes violently, then falls silent. The whispers are gone. The air is warm again. We look around, dazed and exhausted. Is it over? Clara asks, her voice barely a whisper. I think so, I say, pulling her into a hug. I think we did it. Sarah stands before us, her form fading. Thank you, she says, her voice filled with gratitude. You freed us. Will you be at peace now? Clara asks, tears in her eyes. Sarah nods. Yes, we can finally rest. With that, she disappears, and the house feels different, lighter, almost welcoming. We look at each other, a sense of relief washing over us. We did it, Eric says, a triumphant smile on his face. As we start to clean up, a strange feeling washes over me. I head back to the basement, drawn by a sense of unease. When I reach the small room, I see something that makes my blood run cold. In the center of the pentagram, a new figure stands, a shadowy presence, different from John. It's darker, more sinister, and it's watching me. You haven't won, it whispers. This house will never be free. I back away, my heart pounding. The presence doesn't follow, but its words echo in my mind. We may have freed Sarah and her family, but something darker still lingers. As I return to the others, I force a smile. We've made progress, but I know the battle isn't over. The house still holds secrets, and it will take everything we have to uncover them. But for now, we've earned a moment of peace, and I'm determined to fight for our home, no matter what it takes.